let's talk about operations, right? We're talking about how to flip 25 houses a year remotely. So, like, what are 2 or 3 key processes and systems you need in order to be able to flip that many houses?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of ours is our virtual team. So although Alex is in Hawaii, Mexico, I'm in Los Angeles, we do have a large team base that is virtual. And this goes well with our business model, right? Alex and I are not together all the time. We do a lot of Zoom meetings, so we're able to bring in other team members that can do those Zoom meetings for us. So the first one was, as Alex mentioned, project management wasn't really his cup of tea. And I'd be lying if I said it was mine as well. You know, I still to this day don't know whether to use a hammer or whether to use a screw and a drill. It doesn't work well for either of us. So the first thing that we had to do was say, hey, let's take note, let's take account of what we are good at, and let's figure out what we aren't good at, and let's go ahead and bring those people in, those qualified people in. And you know, Alex will talk about it as well, but we wanted to bring in A+ players in those specific roles because that's how we were going to elevate our team overall, was bringing in the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, so what I would say about that is the first thing is we run kind of the traction model, and where we have a all team meeting every week, a level 10 meeting, and that's been kind of the cornerstone for us because it sets the tone for the week. Everybody has kind of quote unquote their marching orders, and everything's pretty clear on what your goal is, our goal is as a company, and all that. So I think the level 10 meetings that we have like every beginning of the week, we had them on Mondays, but we recently transitioned to doing more on Tuesdays because so much happens on Mondays. So I think that's one big one. And then also that weekly webinar I discussed earlier, or meetup, it kind of helped unify the team a lot because we had this kind of all purpose of like, because the level 10 meeting is internal, right? Where the team is, knows what they need to do. Everything's very clear. Everybody's aware of what's happening in the company as a whole in that meeting. And then the webinar is more an external thing where we're working together as a team to make an impact on the, where we're doing for our community and for the, where we're doing business. And I think those two things have helped us kind of stay together because we're all in different areas. And so, just having that clear vision of this is what we're building a company, we're going to be flipping this many houses, and then we're doing with this many houses, this much profit, we're going to position it for these type of acquisitions like the multifamily. So, as though being a visionary seems to be like cool, but it's hard because you're leading other people, and the vision that you're setting is dictating like how, part of their life. So I think that's not something to take lightly. And I think, very deeply, and I consult with a lot of my mentors too, because, you don't want to lead people to failure, right?
Right.
So I think that's, but to just give a couple of tools or things that I think that have been very helpful for us, I'd say those are two big ones.
So going back to you were saying the virtual team.
Yep.
So virtual as in virtual in Los Angeles or virtual like virtually around the world?
Yeah, virtually around the world. I mean, we have virtual team members down in Mexico, in multiple different states down in Mexico. Alex traveling down to Mexico obviously allowed him to kind of connect with some of these people in person. And then we've also gone out and gotten some team members out in the Philippines as well.
So then the project manager is where?
That's, I think, an important piece we should mention. Being part of the Ryan's coaching program, I saw that he mentioned that there was this business model where you could just pay project managers like a flat fee, and then you don't necessarily have like a payroll employee that you're paying, 50, 60,000 a year. Because for us, like, since a lot of our projects are not like, LA is big, it's a massive territory. So having somebody drive, 2 hours from one project to others is not a good use of time. So we started to implement that, where we handpicked a couple solid project managers that we'd pay them a flat fee. And then their job was to make sure that the property, once they got the property, they had a full scope of work going, and that they had that project basically from when we bought it to when it listed. And then they would get a fee for getting that project to the finish line, at least to listing stage or refinance stage. And then we'd give them a bonus once if it hit all our numbers as well. So I ended up paying a lot more project management overall, but we don't have so much of a headache or having to manage somebody that's kind of running around with it like their chicken, like a head cut, with their head cut off.
So this guy's an independent contractor.
Kind of, yeah.
These guys. So it's multiple guys that we have in different regions of LA. And then now we have one virtual project manager that manages all of those people. So she's down in Mexico.
Say they provide direct support to the project managers, so that way they're like negotiating with contractors. They're doing the things that actually move the project forward, not like sitting there looking at receipts and stuff. Like they're handing it off.
So there's one person who's virtual. Where's she?
Well, it's actually two. So we had to get her an assistant. She's down in Mexico. And then it became too many receipts, too many data points for her to handle. So we got an additional person out in the Philippines that kind of helps more with the back end paperwork, so that again, our Mexican counterpart can actually directly influence and help our project managers here in the States.
I love that your VA has a VA, because I remember I said that in a call once, and they're like, "How can your VA have a VA?" It's like,
Yeah, she has an assistant.
They need
She's
it.
virtual as well.
They do.
if they're
Yeah.
superstars, they need it. So
Yeah.
you have a VA with a VA, and she's supporting the 4 project managers, and those guys then are just are managing subsections of LA. So they're
Correct.
going to the properties, driving the properties, dealing with the subs.
We have a project manager for the Arizona property,
Mhm.
and we have a project manager for the Hawaii property, and then we have 3 project managers in LA. So
And they're all independent, so they don't need you. Like, you're not feeding them directly. They got other projects they're working on.
Yeah. So they work on other. One of them is an avid investor. Sometimes we'll partner up on a deal in there. Sometimes he'll lend us money on a deal. But he's just like it's kind of a hybrid relationship it developed where he wanted to flip more because he holds a lot, and then we want to hold more, and then he is in Antelope Valley, an area that's a little bit remote in Southern California. So that's worked out very well. And then we've kind of groomed another one of our project managers that he had the profile, the type of personality profile for a project manager, not acquisitions, and he's been an absolute stud. And then we also have someone else that's kind of more in the Joshua Tree area, and that's kind of remote. So we partner up on a deal, and then we end up buying a couple properties that he's managing. So really, it's since rehabbing property is a real pain in the neck. The person that's in charge of getting that project to the finish line is very important. So I don't mind paying them a little bit more, and then maybe having some more payroll employees. I like that business model for us. It's worked for us. Yeah.
Got it.